Okay, first we would like you to say your name and where you're from.
Sure. George Nickols from Northridge, California.
Okay, and what is your involvement with FDF?
I started with FDF in 1986. 30 years was last year. I retired from them. I told them it's enough, time for new blood. When FDF first started in 76, I didn't think it was going to last too long because it was a competition. And I figured, well, the same groups are going to win. All the other groups will drop out, and they'll be left with nothing after about 4 or 5 years. I was wrong. And I saw that this was one of the best ministries any church could have. And I was glad and happy that they asked me to be a judge. And I accepted and been thrilled to death since.
In what ways has it been one of the best ministries of the church?
It not only gives kids and young adults a flavor of their heritage, of their traditions, of their dance, of their culture, of their religion. And they're even learning how to speak the language. And you can't ask for more than that.
That's great. And just going back to 1976, how did you hear about it, or you weren't involved at that time? But
well, Nick and I had a dance group, and we were the ones that danced pretty much at all the different festivals at the time. And then when this came up, of course, we were going to hear about it. And that's how I heard about it, because I heard about it in 77. Plus, my brother's wife's niece was one of the first dancers.
who was she?
Fotiny Phillips.
And did you dance? Because I know there were groups from the Intersection that went to San Diego and danced at festivals and things. Did you ever do that?
Yeah,
Before?
I was involved with a couple of groups, yeah.
Okay. And did you know Don and Ellie Hyatt?
I did. In fact, Nick and Steve Reynolds, Nick Varvis and Steve Reynolds asked me if I wanted to be considered as a judge. I said, sure, I would. And then Don and Ellie, who were in charge, called me and officially made it a request, and I accepted.
Going back, tell me a little bit about the, you were in the Hellenic dancers and the Intersection dancers. Can you describe and start by contextualizing that, what the Intersection dancers were or the Hellenic?
All right, yeah. In 1963, I joined Hellenic dancers. I had a lot of friends in there, my sister-in-law, et cetera, et cetera. I was a little younger than the rest of the group, but I joined. And that was my first involvement with a quote-unquote Greek folk dance group. And after a couple of years, I left and went to Greece. When I came back from Greece, there were a lot of other people in that group, namely Nick Varvis. And we sat there and danced for I don't know how many years. And then Athan left Hellenic dancers, started the Intersection, and he started up a group at the Intersection. So Nick and I joined that group too. So we were sort of in both groups.
How did you know Nick?
Nick, his village is next to my parents' village. And when his father came over, they knew my parents. His mother came over and they knew each other, and the old men played cards together and all that. So when Nick came, I was introduced to him. We didn't hit it off. I didn't speak very much Greek and he didn't speak very much English. He liked soccer, I liked baseball. So we didn't do much, but because of our parents, we went to a couple of movies together or something like that. It didn't last too long, but we talked. And then when he was in the Hellenic dancers, when I came back from Greece in 64, 5, we became very good friends, very close.
And
we had a common bond amongst other stuff that sort of drew us together.
The Greek dance was the...
That was it, yeah.
What's the name of the village that both of your parents...
He's from Dunisa and I'm from Sudana.
And those are in the...
Kalavita region of Greece.
Okay. And you grew up in Los Angeles, and I wanted to ask about when you met your wife.
I met my wife at the Intersection, as many people had met their spouses there. She was a folk dancer. She did it all. Israeli and Balkan, Greek, and whatever it was. And we just met there.
And what's her name?
Riva.
Okay, and you're, tell me about your two kids.
Nick and Cassandra are now 36 and 31. They grew up in the Greek church with the dance and the music. My son plays clarinet. My daughter plays keyboard and sings. She's a professional musician. My son is a doctor and does clarinet only because he wants a release, and that's his release.
Did they dance at FDF?
They did. My son is not much of a dancer. He would rather play. My daughter is gung-ho dancer. Yeah.
She still dances?
She's been there since she was 5.
And has she
And
been
now
involved?
she's directing.
For which church?
St. Nicholas, Northridge.
Okay. And does she have kids?
No, neither one are married yet, unfortunately.
Well,
No grandkids coming.
I know. One of these days. We talked about last time the Easter picnic in terms of your hometown and
Oh yeah, the St. Sophia has had a tradition of an Easter picnic from way back. And that came about, the way I heard it, was that we're from a certain village in Greece. And that group, most of them are here in Los Angeles. From the Chorio in Greece, pretty much all of them came to America, came to Los Angeles. Very few didn't, but there's a big community here of local people from one village. And we would have a picnic, this Easter picnic. There's another group, Arcadians. Anybody from the province of Arcadia had a picnic. The Marmarini from, I'll say, what is now probably Turkey, they had a group, they had a picnic. So someone had the bright idea, says, well, we have all these different picnics. Why don't we just have one big picnic? And that's what happened. And that tradition is carried on to this day.
here in Los Angeles.
Last week they had it at Rose Bowl.
That's so cool. We need to get some pictures of that. Well, getting back to FDF, which is what we're really supposed to be talking about. When you started, how was judging different, or how were the groups different, if they are, back when you started in '86 until
last year? The groups were not as many, of course. And what they did was dance, mainland dancing and island dancing. Now, over the years, they progressed to do a particular village from a particular region, all the way through. Not some people in a Fustanella doing a gaita, and then the next group coming out and doing a pendosali, and then the mainland dancers coming out and doing mini pirotico or something like that. They're now individualized to one little village and one little area of some province. And they do those dances from that region. It's gotten to be microscopic as opposed to macroscopic in the dancing.
and how has that evolved, or what caused that?
The directors themselves, the directors. Now with all the information out there, when we were dancing, there was no YouTube, there was no video or VHS or anything like that. The only way we learned is when people came from Greece and taught us. Mm-hmm. Athan Karis, who danced with Dora Stratton. We learned from him. There was no videos at the time, nothing. So his word was, hey, that got to be true. That's gospel. The other one was his friends. You know Yanni Costantino?
I've heard the name.
His father danced with Athan in Dora Stratton's group. He came out one time. Athan brought him out, introduced us. He taught us a bunch of Macedonian dances. Another friend of Athan's was Thanasis Karagiotis. He came out. He taught us a bunch of dances. You know, that's the way we learned. Mm-hmm. There was no research actually going on at that time.
So the directors or even judges, people weren't going to Greece and researching?
No. There may have been, but not in the West Coast.
Okay.
Maybe East Coast, but not West Coast. That's another double the distance to go.
Right. And then the scholarships started at FDF, and the kids were sent to Greece on these scholarships.
Yes.
Can you talk about that program?
Yes. I took it over mainly because Charlie just had
Excuse me, can you say, I took over the scholarship program?
Yeah. I took over the scholarship program from Charlie Kiriakou, who had his hands full with a lot of other things. And I said, gladly. The scholarship program that they had probably didn't have enough effort put into it because of Charlie being busy. And I noticed that they're sending kids that are the greatest dancers, the greatest choreographers, the greatest they don't need to go. They don't need to do that. They'll do it on their own. What we need to do is send people who are not quite that strong, are into it, want to learn, but they need a boost. And that's what I turned the scholarship into. I also used it to help people who couldn't afford to go to Greece. So I used it in a little different manner. And unfortunately, through the years, it stopped. Funding, in my opinion, that's the number one thing that should be funded, not anything else. So I didn't like the way it was going, so I decided not to be the scholarship chairman anymore.
That's a shame. How many kids would you say went during the time you were?
Oh, quite a, boy, I don't know. It lasted about 4 years that way. Not 4 years. I got to send 4 different groups of kids over in maybe 6 years or something like that. And we had a musical scholarship, the bastard child of the scholarships that never got funded afterwards because it was the last one. And if you look now at FDF, you see an awful lot of kids picking up instruments. I'm not going to say that we started that, but we could have had an awful lot more kids playing instruments if we had continued that.
Why did they defund the scholarships?
It wasn't enough money. They didn't have enough money. They needed seed money for the next year, and they had to budget for that, and there wasn't money. But now it's different because I sent a letter to Father Gary about they don't have to go to Greece. They have something in Montreal. They have something in Florida. Mm-hmm. They have all these symposiums going on now. We don't need to necessarily go to Greece. Be cheaper. You can send 3 instead of 1.
I saw online that one in Montreal.
Anyxi. Is that Anyxi? No, Anyxi is Florida.
No, this one's in Montreal.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there is, yes.
And it looked like they had fabulous people there to do the seminars. So
there's no reason not to do that.
How did you have money before and then you didn't? It was
expenses went up with the hotels.
Okay.
For funding of the FDF throughout, things started going up, and
okay.
Because it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can't go to the Red Lion Inn in Sacramento. You have to go to the Marriott Hotel in San Francisco. So.
Right. Do you think some families are priced out of participating in FDF?
I think that some families that's their summer vacation. That's it. So very expensive, too bad. They should be able to, a family of 5, 3 kids and the parents, a lot of times the father will stay home. He can't afford to go. The mother and the 3 kids will go. Now with a package of $300, not to gas to get down here, or the airplane to get down here, and the hotel room, and they're not going to eat the packaged food. They're going to go out and get their pizza afterwards and all. Very expensive, $3,000, $4,000, maybe more. That's a big hit. I don't care how well you are off.
Yeah. Do you see any solution to that? Any way to?
I don't know. I have no clue how to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In terms of judging, you were talking about what you look for as a judge, if you could describe that.
I look for the spirit in the individual dancers. To me, that's the number one goal of all. Whether their foot is 3 inches off the ground or 5 inches off the ground, that's not to me. Step, step, hop, hop, step, step. To me, it's the same thing.
Excuse me a second here. Are you
that was me.
Okay, stop that. Tapping.
I just care about how they are dancing. I mean, don't try to fool me with some stuff, but I pretty much know what to expect. And I want to see them enjoying it and doing it right and having a good time with it. That's my number one comment, pretty much. Get some some spirit into that guy or into that girl to get those dances done. And you can tell, because if they're just doing the basic steps throughout and they're leading the line, they don't have it yet. They've got to put some themselves into that dance to see that. That's what I look for.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of how FDF, you were talking last time about how it's changed over the years. For example, you said you like to walk the halls after the judges?
Yeah. Nick Varvis, myself, and Nick Savidi. After the final award has been given off, after the banquet, we make ourselves present so they can come up to us and talk to us. I don't see a lot of judges doing that. I mean, I'm sure there is now, but in the old days, no, they all hid. Not really, but it looked like that. So that's what we're there for. That's what we're there for.
To teach them.
Come and ask us. Now is the time to ask, not while you're doing it. I can't tell you anything during the week. After it's over, ask me. That's what I'm there for. And don't ask me 3 days before, because we're not allowed to do anything.
But you do see the tapes of their dances. I didn't know about that. So if you could describe that
We don't see the tapes of their dancing the dances, but we encourage them to submit to us something that they're going to do on video or on the YouTube or whatever, what they're going to do. They're going to do something from, God, I can't. Let's say they're doing Pontian from Bafra. Maybe we haven't seen that before. The very first time it was done, the director sent us videos of their dances, how they're a little bit different from, let's say, Trapezunda or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they would point it out to us so that when they do it, we don't sit there and not know what they're doing and say, wait, that's not the way we know it. They sort of educate us too, in a way. You don't have to do this. I mean, there's not very much material we don't know or haven't seen. But if there's something different that you're doing, or maybe you think it's new, write up something. You don't have to give us videos. Say, this is what I found and this is the way I'm going to do it. Educate us a little bit. But it's only a few groups do that.
Oh, I thought they all pretty
They
much
don't have to do it. That's not a requirement.
But I would think it's helpful to you.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot.
And costumes are not your area of expertise?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Mary, no. Well, Renee sometimes will make comments on costumes because she's sort of an authority on costumes herself, although she's a dance judge. Mm-hmm. But not me. I have no clue what a costume should be made or what colors they use.
They always look good. Tell me about the dance that a group from Seattle did one year that was about the grave sites.
Oh, that was this last year.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yes. There is a village in Ipiros. I forgot the name of the village, whatever the name of the village was. But the day after Easter, I think it's the day after Easter, they go and visit the graves. And a musician will play that particular person what his favorite song was, or his dance, whatever. They wouldn't be dancing. They would just play the music and go to the next grave site and play the music. Well, the directors in Seattle decided to put this on stage. Unfortunately, they were not allowed to have the announcer tell them what they're doing. What is this supposed to be? So they sat and passed out little cards to people coming in. Well, there were people sitting in there already that weren't going to get the card. And they ran out of cards. So all the people that were in there, only a few had an idea what they were doing. And that's another thing I think should change, especially with advanced seniors. But you had to just be able to deduce that, why are these people pale? Well, they're representing the people from the dead who came up out of the ground, sort of like All Hallows Eve, and danced their dances, which I thought was very well done.
So they took a tradition and made a dance?
They didn't make a dance, they made a presentation of this situation.
Oh, okay. And there'll be a video of that, yeah.
They sent to us a video of the tradition in the village where they just went to the gravesites and the musicians played their song. That was what the video was. That's that custom in this village. But the directors, they decided let's do a little bit more to this. And I thought it was fine.
Do you have that video that not with you right
Well, it's
now,
probably on YouTube, I'm sure.
Okay. Of the original one of the village? And then because the FDF one will be online too.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to compare, to show both of those. online.
I'm sure it's
in the
there.
documentary.
I can even give you the director's name so you can talk to him.
Okay. What is his name?
Marty McAndrews, Karimus.
I have the program anyway, so I can find him.
Andy Von Hunt is also.
Okay. It sounds like there was, if they ran out of cards, it sounds like there was some interest in knowing what the dances are about. Why do they not do that at FDF? Like tell
It takes too much time because every group will want to do it, so you can add another 25% time more to it. And it's already a long day, 12, 14 hours for us. So it's one way to do it. But I can see maybe someone announcing them to come on. They can take a minute. A minute isn't much. They've got, in the final round, they have 15 minutes. What's one more minute?
Yeah, I think that would
The
be really
musicians set
cool.
up for 5. What's the difference?
Yeah. Or even if they told them to print something out or had.
Things have changed. It's not like I said the old days where they just come out and do a dance and wait for the tape recorder to go to the next one and dance the next one. This is, big production stuff. And if they put all this time in it, the directors, they should be able to get that extra minute to explain what they're doing. They should be able to do that.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Because like you say, it's a huge production.
Yes.
It's very professionally done.
They're spending 9 months of the year trying to get this down. And I think they should be allowed a minute's worth of grace to explain what they're doing.
Right.
Preovolos, Modesto, likewise, they put on a wedding. They didn't tell you that this was a wedding going on. But the announcer could have said, well, this is a wedding between a Pontian bridegroom and a Cretan daughter. Well, they didn't. So you had to know the first suite was the shaving of the groom for the wedding. They never told you that. Why is the guy getting shaved? People in the audience are just looking. Now, we know, but do they know? No. And then the wedding was the second suite they did. So did the people know? They probably figured it out watching this, but it would have been nice if they had a minute to explain what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't get the story on a lot of them. And I actually asked Mary Koros when I was there if like in ballet, I can sometimes tell what the story is, but I guess it's because the stories we know often. But she said you really can't tell usually from just watching the dance the first couple of times what the story is.
Well, take Seattle's group thing. If you don't know the story, we know because they sent us the video, we saw what's going on, and we can induce the following. However, people out there saying, what, these people are coming out of the dead and dancing? What kind of crap is that? Well, you don't know, right?
Right.
So, not that they have to know because they're not scoring, but it would be nice so the people could understand what this person is putting on stage.
Well, they'd appreciate it more.
Right.
And they'd get, I think that would be very helpful. You talked about the HDF and the FDF.
Yeah, the HDF is sort of like a byproduct from the FDF. It worked so well for us on the Western diocese that it was promoted, especially the Preovolos promoted it to other dioceses. And it took them a little while to get going, but they grabbed onto it in HDF, the Southeast Diocese. Very good for them. And it's growing. It's up to like 45 groups now. And that's a big feather in our cap to get another diocese to see what a strong ministry this is. And it's also going on in Northeast, and here in Chicago too. Very good, good. And it opens the door to a national one. Wow,
Yeah, that would be
a big thing.
I didn't know it was going on in
The
Chicago.
logistics got to be a nightmare, but what a great thing to happen.
And those are all competitions as well.
Yes.
Why were you opposed to competition in the first place? Just because you thought what you said that you thought wouldn't last, or?
I don't know. Maybe it's too, what's the word? I don't know the word right, but too corny. I don't know. Competition. Come on, Greek dance is supposed to be having fun out there. What do you mean competing? It's the American way to compete. But it works. I can't remember how many years ago, 15 years ago. They took a poll amongst all the dancers. You want competition or do you want to do away with it? 80% said we want competition. Okay.
Can't fight it.
Yeah.
How well do you know the Preovolos family? How much experience have you?
I didn't know them until 1986, my first FDF. I've known them since then. I'm proud to say I'm friends with them. Very deep down, heartfelt, love for them, all of them. And a great ministry that he's put out. He saw the need and he did it. Good for him.
And
I've heard 20 different stories on who started FDF and how it started. Everybody wants to take credit for something like that. It's amazing.
I think it was a convergence of a lot of things that started. I mean, Peter, I think, pushed it out.
Well,
the
yeah,
gate.
sure. He, well, you know the story. He was talking to us about it, but he kept with it. Didn't go over that great the first year. He probably wanted to see a lot more, but hey, sit back and wait. It's growing. It's growing. From an embryo, it's now a young adult.
Do you think it will keep growing? Or?
Nothing lasts forever, but who knows where this will go. I don't see it dying. It's too big to die. So.
And you're leaving. A couple people, when I said I was interviewing you, said you have to talk him into staying.
I've done 30 years. It's time for younger people to move up and take over and start doing things. Nothing wrong with that. And they won't do it until you leave.
Who would, how do you become a judge these days?
I'm not quite sure, but I know you should submit a resume to the executive board and they'll interview you. And they probably know you anyway because you probably have been involved with FDF for a while. So they'll throw you in. Whoever it is going to make mistakes their first year. Everybody makes mistakes their first year, but don't worry about it. Next year you'll be fine.
Do you talk to each other when you're judging?
I try to tell them not to do that. I'm sort of like the old meanie in there. Don't do that. It looks bad, but you can't not talk. You don't necessarily have to talk about the dances, but hey, look at that, Mm-hmm. We don't talk about, I'm scoring this and I'm scoring this. No, none of that happens.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about that. Are you still a member of the board of trustees?
I probably am not now. My name was still on it.
Can you, for the camera, just say, I became a member of, in what year?
Oh, I became a member of the board maybe 3 years later, at 89 or something like that. And was a member representing the judges. We had a big board at that time. It was like 15, 16 people on the board. But now it's whittled down to pretty much maybe 10, 8. And of course, the executive board is the one that makes all the decisions pretty much. Mm-hmm. But, every once a year, maybe we'd have one big meeting with input from all of the other members.
So you talked to all the judges. You pretty much spoke for the judges.
Correct. Me and Ann. Ann and I are the representatives of the judges.
Okay. So who will take your place then?
I don't know. I think I have an idea who will, but
okay. I mean, you don't have to say.
I don't know,
but
but I think I know who would be. One who has to get along with Ann. It'll probably be Ari. My guess.
Okay.
Ari gets along with everybody.
Well, that's good. Is there anything you would like to add about FDF? What it's meant to you? For one thing?
What it's meant to me? Thank heaven that our traditions, our heritage will be kept alive for a few more generations. A few more generations. Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
And FDF is so youth-oriented that I don't see it going anywhere. I don't see it going anywhere. I have relatives that are involved from Pasadena, Anaheim, Oakland, all over. Northridge, of course. St. Sophia. That.
How many generations?
Well,
Family?
I'd say 5, 6, somewhere right there. I got to say that because I know my cousin, my niece, is a great grandmother. So there's a lot of generations here.
Wow.
She was number 2, and she's a great grandmother. So there she's down to 6th generation. So there's an awful lot. Now, I don't know if they've been involved with the Sacramento church and dancing and all, but they're Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 6 generations of Greek in Sacramento, I know of.
And I think FDF has really brought the Western states together for the Greeks.
Yes. Yes. It used to be just people used to know each other locally, and now they're getting to know each other diocese-wide. Mm-hmm. And even more. People are made friends with the East Coast. People have made friends with people in Montreal. And then even in Greece, too. Even in Greece. Some of the judges we brought out, in the beginning, some of the early ones weren't a big fan of FDF. But now the later ones that have been coming out love FDF. They think it's one of the better than they do have in Greece.
I've heard that. The level of dancing and with young people learning those dances.
One guy I talked to, a musician who was here, he says, we have to bring people from Greece over here to see you guys, rather than you guys coming over there and watching us. Reverse it.
Got to be proud of that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's cool.
Well, we've had judges come out from Greece that have told us, I better not say, oh, what the hell. You guys are Americans, you're not really Greeks, and you're doing your own thing. What a piece of caca to say to us doing this program. Just get out of here. We don't need that.
And it's not true.
It's not at all.
I've talked to too many people that they go to Greece, they do the research,
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's, like I say, it's grown so much. It's so mature, so close to everybody's heart. There's no way this thing can die. Even if the Met comes out and says, I forbid this to go on anymore. It's going to go on. The HEPA will pick it up. Someone will pick it up, and it'll keep going. Or no one will pick it up, and we'll be our own little autonomous group ministry.
That's great to hear, because it is like the coolest thing, I think. It's too bad more groups aren't like this, more programs like this.
We're pushing it, and it's going to get around.
Are you going to keep working with FDF after you're out of the judge?
Well, I want to take at least 1 year off. At least 1 year off. Just kick back and not do anything, Not that my involvement has been so horrific on my social life and personal life and all. No, it's not that. But I just want to, step back.
Yeah, good.
I'm 75 years old. I'm not going to sit there for 16 hours a day grading scores anymore. Let the young 30-year-olds do it.
It looks grueling, just from being at FDF, to see how many hours you just sit up there. It's like...
Oh, and that's only part of it. We got meetings to go to afterwards. We caucus for special awards and things like could get into a big discussion. You got 12 judges of 12 different ideas. 12 different people who have their own idea. A lot of them are thinking alike, but doesn't necessarily mean anything. Mm-hmm. A group of 4 judges think this way, another couple of judges think this way, a few more, so you got 5 different opinions on just one topic.
You don't get much sleep during that time.
Well, no, I think I got 2 hours sleep the first night and 4 hours sleep the second night. And then the third night I crashed,
Wow. Yeah, that's too much work.
But we all love it. We all love it when we're doing it. It's not a hardship at all.
Yeah, I can see that.
If it is, you shouldn't be there. If it is, you shouldn't do it. Come and watch, but